Welcome back to ABCGH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the intriguing medical file mystery that's brewing in Port Charles, involving some of our favorite characters and potentially game-changing revelations that could reshape the entire landscape of General Hospital. The mysterious medical records situation. Port Charles is buzzing with tension as a complex situation unfolds between Dr. Portia Robinson and Drew Quartermaine. During a recent episode, viewers witnessed Portia carefully examining Drew's confidential medical files in the privacy of her office. The camera lingered meaningfully on the folder clearly marked with Drew's name, suggesting something significant lies within those pages. What makes this particularly interesting is the context of their strained relationship. Drew has been effectively blackmailing Portia, forcing her into an uncomfortable position where she publicly supported him at a recent press conference despite her personal reservations. This power dynamic has created a pressure cooker situation that appears ready to explode. The medical records appear to be Portia's potential escape route from Drew's manipulative grip. As she repeatedly reviewed the contents of that folder, her expression revealed a mind working overtime, formulating what could be a dangerous counterstrike against her blackmailer. Ava's ominous warning. In upcoming scenes, we'll see Ava Jerome stepping into this volatile situation with words of caution for Portia. The preview footage shows Ava delivering a pointed warning about allowing fear to drive poor decision-making. This suggests Portia may have confided in Ava about her plans to use Drew's medical information as leverage. Ava's concern is palpable as she attempts to dissuade Portia from a course of action that could potentially backfire catastrophically. Despite having good intentions in trying to free herself from Drew's control, Portia might be venturing into ethically questionable territory that could jeopardize her medical license and personal freedom. The fact that Ava, a character who has certainly made her share of questionable choices, is the voice of reason here speaks volumes about the severity of what Portia might be contemplating. When Ava Jerome warns you that your plan is too risky, perhaps it's time to reconsider your strategy. Potential revelations in Drew's medical history. The writer's decision to introduce this medical file storyline suggests significant developments on the horizon. Several possibilities present themselves based on Portia's behavior and the show's history with similar plotlines. Drew's medical records could contain evidence of a condition that might undermine his congressional aspirations if made public. Perhaps there's documentation of mental health issues, neurological complications from his past traumas, or medication dependencies that would raise questions about his fitness for office. Alternatively, given Portia's history of manipulating medical information when cornered, she might be contemplating altering Drew's records to create leverage. This would represent an extraordinary risk to her career and freedom, but desperate times often lead to desperate measures in Port Charles. The imposter theory gains momentum. Perhaps most intriguing is the possibility that Portia has discovered medical inconsistencies that support what many fans have long suspected, that the current Drew Quartermaine isn't actually Drew at all. His uncharacteristic behavior in recent months has fueled speculation about an imposter scenario. The medical records might contain genetic information, blood type discrepancies, or other biological markers that don't align with Drew's established medical history. If Portia has uncovered evidence suggesting the real Drew has been replaced, this could explain her intense focus on those files and her determination to act. Such a revelation would send shockwaves through Port Charles, particularly affecting Drew's family members like Sam and Scout, not to mention the Quartermaine dynasty. It would also raise alarming questions about who this imposter might be and what happened to the real Drew Quartermaine. The high-stakes gamble. As this storyline unfolds, viewers are left wondering whether Portia's medical file strategy will succeed in freeing her from Drew's blackmail or if it will create even more complications. Her prediction about regaining power suggests confidence in her approach, but in Port Charles, plans rarely proceed without unexpected twists. If Portia does move forward despite Ava's warnings, she risks not only professional consequences but potentially dangerous retaliation from Drew or whoever might be masquerading as him. The medical ethics violations alone could end her career, But the personal ramifications could be far worse if she's dealing with someone dangerous enough to assume another person's identity. The coming episodes promise to deliver answers about what exactly Portia discovered in those files and how she plans to use that information. Whether her strategy proves brilliant or disastrous remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: the repercussions will be felt throughout Port Charles for months to come. Next, we will learn about the issue surrounding Jason Morgan's potential revelations about Jack Brennan and how these discoveries might impact Carly Spencer's life in unexpected ways. The unfolding drama between Jason and Brennan. Jason Morgan stands poised to become the bearer of life-altering revelations that could permanently reshape Carly Spencer's relationship with Jack Brennan. Two particularly shocking secrets loom on the horizon, threatening to upend everything Carly believes about her current romantic interest. The tension between these characters has been building steadily, creating a powder keg of emotions ready to explode across Port Charles. The potential fallout from these revelations cannot be overstated. Carly, known for her fierce loyalty and passionate defense of those she loves, may soon find herself forced to reconsider her allegiances and priorities. The emotional devastation could ripple through her life, affecting not only her relationship with Brennan but also her connections with family members who may have been impacted by Brennan's actions. Jocelyn's WSB recruitment, a mother's nightmare. Perhaps the most devastating revelation waiting in the wings involves Brennan's clandestine recruitment of Jocelyn Jacks into the dangerous world of the WSB. This shocking betrayal of trust has placed Carly's daughter in a potential lifetime of dangerous situations without her mother's knowledge or consent. The revelation of this secret recruitment would strike at Carly's core as a mother, potentially igniting her legendary temper. He enlisted her own daughter into a life of danger without even consulting her, whispers one Port Charles insider. When Carly discovers that Jocelyn has been exposed to international espionage and potentially life-threatening missions, there will be hell to pay. The WSB connection represents not just a betrayal of Carly's trust but a fundamental violation of parental boundaries. Brennan's unilateral decision to involve Jocelyn in such dangerous work demonstrates a disturbing willingness to manipulate and endanger Carly's loved ones for his own purposes. The Cyrus Renault situation, evidence tampering and deception. The first explosive secret involves Brennan's role in the Cyrus Renault situation. Not only did Brennan provide Jocelyn with critical information that led to her eliminating Cyrus, but he subsequently covered up the crime. In a particularly devious move, he tampered with evidence by planting Jason's DNA at the scene, potentially framing an innocent man while protecting himself. This complex web of deception reveals Brennan's willingness to manipulate the justice system, endanger Jocelyn, and implicate Jason, three actions guaranteed to infuriate Carly when brought to light. The revelation of such calculated manipulation would shatter any remaining trust Carly might have in Brennan. The evidence tampering alone shows a calculated mind willing to sacrifice others, notes a former PCPD detective familiar with similar cases. When you add in his willingness to use Jocelyn as a pawn in his schemes, you're looking at a pattern of behavior that should terrify anyone close to him. Jason's confrontation and investigation. The March 20th episode showcased Jason's mounting frustration and concern as he directly confronted Brennan. The heated exchange revealed Jason's protective instincts toward Carly, as he explicitly blamed Brennan for placing her in danger. Jason's warning to Brennan to maintain distance from Carly demonstrated his seriousness about protecting his longtime friend. Despite Jason's warnings, Brennan's compliance remains questionable. Carly's well-documented stubborn streak and independent nature mean she could easily convince Brennan to ignore Jason's threats if she chooses to maintain their relationship. This dynamic creates additional tension as Jason recognizes that his warnings alone may not be sufficient to protect Carly. Valentine's cryptic information. The plot thickened considerably during the March 21st episode when Jason strategically questioned Valentine Cassadine about Brennan. Though Valentine remained characteristically guarded, he provided just enough information to pique Jason's interest and potentially secure a favor from him in return. This exchange with Valentine may have provided Jason with crucial puzzle pieces regarding Brennan's true nature and past actions. The cryptic hints dropped by Valentine could serve as the catalyst for Jason's deeper investigation into Brennan's background and motives. Valentine never gives information without expecting something in return, observes a longtime Port Charles resident. Whatever he shared with Jason must be valuable enough to warrant calling in a favor from someone like Morgan. Carly's divided attention and vulnerability. Even while navigating the dangerous waters of her relationship with Brennan, Carly remains fixated on monitoring Valentine Cassadine's activities. This divided attention creates additional vulnerability, as she may miss crucial warning signs about Brennan while focusing on perceived threats from Valentine. Carly's willingness to overlook Brennan's questionable actions to preserve their relationship highlights her emotional investment in him. This emotional blind spot makes Jason's potential revelations all the more devastating, as they would force Carly to confront uncomfortable truths she has been subconsciously avoiding. The inevitable confrontation. As Jason continues his investigation and accumulates evidence against Brennan, a dramatic confrontation seems inevitable. The revelation of Brennan's manipulation of Jocelyn and his tampering with evidence in the Cyrus case would provide Carly with compelling reasons to permanently sever ties with him. The upcoming spoilers suggest that Jason remains determined to expose Brennan's true nature to Carly, regardless of the personal cost. This dedication to protecting Carly, even at the risk of temporarily alienating her, demonstrates the depth of Jason's commitment to her well-being. The Port Charles rumor mill is already buzzing with anticipation of the dramatic scene that will unfold when these secrets finally come to light. Will Carly believe Jason's revelations? How will she respond to learning about Brennan's manipulation of Jocelyn? Next, we will learn about the issue of 3 drawn-out storylines that desperately need resolution on General Hospital, examining why these plots have overstayed their welcome and exploring potential paths forward for the characters involved. Joe's parentage mystery. Time to reveal the truth. The seemingly endless build-up to Giovanni Gio Palmieri's parentage revelation has reached a critical tipping point where viewer patience is wearing dangerously thin. What began as an intriguing mystery has devolved into a repetitive cycle of near misses and anxious glances. Port Charles residents deserve closure on this long-simmering secret that threatens to boil over at any moment. Lois Cerullo's perpetual state of anxiety regarding the potential unraveling of the Gio secret has become almost comical in its predictability. Her nervous energy permeates every scene she occupies, creating a palpable tension that, while initially compelling, now borders on tedious. The writers have relied too heavily on Lois's worried expressions and cryptic comments to maintain momentum, but this narrative device has lost its effectiveness through overuse. Similarly, the scenes between Gio and Brooke Lynn Quartermaine have become increasingly heavy-handed in their attempts to telegraph their biological connection. What started as subtle hints and meaningful glances has evolved into almost painfully obvious foreshadowing. The writers seem determined to beat viewers over the head with their familial resemblance, shared mannerisms, and inexplicable emotional bonds. One particularly on-the-nose moment featured Gio unconsciously mimicking Brooke Lynn's signature hair flip while discussing musical preferences. A detail so deliberate it elicited eye rolls from longtime viewers. The Gio storyline started with such promise, notes veteran GH blogger Sofia Martinez. But now it feels like we're watching the same scenes on repeat with slightly different dialogue. The audience figured out the connection months ago. We're ready for the characters to catch up. The inevitable revelation that Dante Falconeri is Joe's biological father looms large on the horizon. This bombshell promises to reshape multiple character trajectories and family dynamics throughout Port Charles. May Sweeps presents the perfect opportunity for this long-gestating truth to finally emerge, allowing the narrative to progress from tedious secret-keeping to the more compelling territory of emotional fallout and identity reconfiguration. Once the truth emerges, Gio will face the monumental task of reconciling his established identity with newly discovered biological connections. This identity crisis could provide rich dramatic material as he navigates relationships with previously unknown family members while maintaining connections to those who raised him. The potential for complex emotional storytelling is immense if only the writers would move beyond the current holding pattern. Drew and Willow's toxic relationship, a romance doomed to fail. The increasingly problematic romance between Drew Quartermaine and Willow Corinthos represents another storyline that has overstayed its welcome. What began as an unexpected pairing has evolved into a showcase for the worst qualities of both characters, creating a relationship dynamic that feels both unpleasant to watch and detrimental to their individual character development. Drew's transformation from upstanding citizen to morally ambiguous schemer coincided suspiciously with the beginning of his relationship with Willow. His ethical compromises have accelerated at an alarming rate, suggesting that something about this partnership brings out his darkest impulses. The once principled businessman now regularly engages in questionable business practices, emotional manipulation, and outright deception, all while maintaining a facade of righteousness that grows thinner with each episode. Drew used to be one of the most ethically sound characters on the canvas, observes clinical psychologist and soap opera analyst Dr. Rebecca Chen. His relationship with Willow seems to have triggered a shadow side that's fascinating from a psychological perspective but concerning for fans who appreciated his moral center. Willow, meanwhile, has devolved into a hypocritical figure who preaches honesty while turning a blind eye to Drew's increasingly obvious duplicity. Her willingness to accept his flimsy explanations and transparent lies contradicts everything we know about her character's previous insistence on truth and integrity. The cognitive dissonance required to maintain her belief in Drew's goodness has transformed Willow from a sympathetic character into one whose judgment viewers increasingly question. Their scenes together crackle with a strange energy that feels less like romantic chemistry and more like two people enabling each other's worst tendencies. A particularly uncomfortable dinner scene last week featured Drew manipulating information about a business rival while Willow nodded approvingly, despite having previously lectured Michael about ethical business practices just days earlier. This jarring inconsistency highlights how this relationship has warped both characters beyond recognition. The secret hookups between Drew and Nina Reeves introduce another layer of dysfunction to this already troubled relationship. These clandestine encounters, fueled more by opportunism and revenge than genuine attraction, position Drew as not just morally compromised but actively betraying Willow's trust. When this inevitable revelation explodes, likely during a public event for maximum dramatic impact, it will provide the perfect catalyst for ending this toxic relationship. The aftermath could potentially allow both characters to recognize how far they've strayed from their authentic selves and begin redemption arcs that restore them to the characters viewers once respected. Willow might reconnect with her principles and integrity, while Drew could face the consequences of his actions and begin the difficult work of rebuilding his moral compass. Ava's financial struggles, a wealthy woman's unconvincing poverty. Perhaps the most nonsensical storyline currently plaguing General Hospital involves Ava Jerome's sudden and inexplicable financial destitution. This narrative thread defies both logic and the established history of the character, creating a scenario so contrived that it strains credibility beyond the breaking point. The premise that the Cassadines could somehow legally reclaim Ava's divorce settlement represents a fundamental misunderstanding of how divorce proceedings and settlements function. Even if viewers were to accept this dubious legal maneuver, the storyline completely ignores Ava's pre-existing wealth. Long before her marriage to Nicholas Cassadine, Ava was established as independently wealthy through her art gallery, various business ventures, and family connections. The sudden portrayal of her as financially desperate creates a continuity problem that undermines the show's internal logic. Ava Jerome went from owning a successful art gallery and having enough resources to regularly outmaneuver her enemies to suddenly worrying about paying her electric bill, points out legal consultant and GH viewer Martin Goldstein. It's not just unrealistic. It's completely inconsistent with everything we know about her character and background. The writer's determination to force Ava into financial hardship has resulted in increasingly absurd scenarios. Recent episodes have featured the formerly sophisticated businesswoman struggling with basic budgeting concepts, meeting with accountants who explain elementary financial principles, and expressing shock at the cost of everyday items. One particularly egregious scene showed Ava, who once casually purchased a multi-million-dollar painting, gasping at the price of designer shoes she would have bought without hesitation in previous seasons. This storyline not only diminishes Ava's character but wastes the considerable talents of Maura West, reducing a complex, multidimensional villain turned anti-hero to a caricature of financial incompetence. Instead of leveraging Ava's resourcefulness and cunning to overcome genuine obstacles, the writers have created an artificial problem that feels beneath a character of her caliber.